Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the next episode of OneTAKE Live, a show where we talk about the future of work, life, and culture with visionaries, entrepreneurs, academics, game changers in those particular areas. I'm your host, Ian Barkin. So thrilled you could be here because today's show is going to be a great one. I am really excited about it. I've been waiting to do this show for a while. If you've tuned into the last 60-odd episodes that we've done, we've covered concepts around corporate social responsibility and sustainability, impact sourcing, and those topics are so near and dear, not only to me personally, but to enterprises and to people, to employees around the world. And today we truly have one of the visionaries and game changers in the space. So without further ado, I want to welcome Jon Browning to the show. Jon, welcome to OneTAKE.
Hi, Ian. Thank you. I'm just delighted to be here with you today, and I'm really looking forward to our chat.
It is great to have you. So Jon, set us up. Share with our listeners a bit about your background. You were in big business. You were in enterprise, one of the biggest businesses, for about 24 years of your career, and then became inspired and now do the role that you do today. So walk us through your background.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my first job was at Microsoft. It was back in 1990, and it was actually to install telephones for new employees. And I was just out of college, and I was thrilled to be there. There was only 5,000 people, I think, in the entire company at the time.
Wow.
And even, during this time at Microsoft, I've had a chance to partner with Sykes when I was there, and I met a lot of your colleagues over the years as well there. But I was really lucky because it was by accident that I'd made a connection with somebody that literally changed my career path in midstream. And it caused me to focus on what I think I was supposed to be doing. And that's how it worked, this is how we got to today. And so that all happened in 2013. The Rockefeller Foundation had just launched their Digital Jobs Initiative. And I would ask if I'd be a volunteer for the program. The Rockefeller Initiative was originally designed to create good career jobs for less privileged young people, starting out in 6 countries in Africa.
Sure.
And it grew to be a global initiative over time. And, in many of these countries, these locations, especially in Africa, the unemployment rate's over 50% for young people. And we know that having an educated workforce is really only half the solution. There has to be jobs available for them. And so the Rockefeller Initiative created the impact sourcing strategy to hire these underserved workers. It's starting in Africa, then around the world, quite a bit in the United States, which maybe we'll talk about a bit. And I know that Sykes very much is involved in the impact sourcing work today. So long story short, I ended up leaving Microsoft the following year in 2014 to focus exclusively on this work with the Rockefeller Foundation. And it's just been an incredible opportunity and so different from what I had done before.
Amazing.
It was at that moment, at that time, that GMI was created, Global Mentorship Initiative. So if you want, I can just share a little bit about how it got started and what it's about.
Sure. Well, so before we get into, and thank you for naming the company, I forgot to, Global Mentorship Initiative. We're going to have links all over the place as we go and as we post the show. So it'll be easy to find for everyone listening. And quickly, for everyone listening, please do share your names, your locations, where you're joining us from. And if you have questions for Jon, absolutely put them in the comment field. Don't want to leave Microsoft quite yet, Jon, because your role in Microsoft really exposed you to people around the world. I mean, you were in sort of the outsourcing sort of vendor selection management role that exposed you to cultures, to countries, to talents, to people everywhere. It's where you had a chance to work with Sykes. But you effectively had seen and traveled the world leading up to then these discussions that the Rockefeller Foundation had. And I imagine that was some of the sort of the catalyst where it just felt right because you'd seen so much and perhaps wanted to play some role in having an impact in the cultures and the countries you'd seen.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So my first job was installing phones, and my last job had something to do with telephones also, coincidentally. I bounced around in the company for several years, trying different career paths, and ended up, looking after the vendor outsourcing strategy for product support, to helping pick locations, companies to work for. We had about 18,000 workers in that particular area, answering phones, doing all types of support. And you're right. It really opened my eyes to the global workforce. We don't think about this as just local workforces anymore, and that's really something we'll talk about maybe a little bit later. Is the job world is now global. You apply for a job, it doesn't even have to be in your home country now. So you're competing as well with other people globally for a job that might be in your own hometown.
Right.
But what we did find is there's such an opportunity for the BPO industry to make a difference when it comes to things like impact sourcing. And not to go too far down the road here, but there are things that buyers of BPO services can do to encourage companies like Sykes to invest in impact sourcing. And the reason we ask people to look closely at impact sourcing is because not only is it good for the workers, it's good for their communities, provides job opportunities, good job opportunities, but it's actually good for business too. We find Everest did a study for us while I was partnering with Rockefeller on impact sourcing and the impact to the industry. And what we found is that impact workers stay on the job longer. They have a lower attrition rate, on average, about 40% lower attrition rate than the average BPO worker. They also, because they are on the job longer, they become more subject matter experts. And so they actually reduce the time to complete tasks and have fewer errors in them. So, I mean, it's the best of all worlds. And so what we want to do is encourage more companies like Microsoft or any company that buys BPO services to ask their providers for an impact sourcing strategy. Right. Or one of the most effective ways is when you're doing an RFP, you be sure and have a question on that RFP. How will you use impact sourcing if you win my business? And you'd be surprised how quickly that will transform our industry if all the buyers start doing that.
Perfect. No, great point. You talk with your buying decisions in your wallet, and thank you for that backdrop and background too. I mean, that's why I was so excited to have this discussion. It's why your background and your experience is so incredibly powerful as context to really then set up the stage. So you had been in that environment where you were creating opportunity and prosperity around the world. As you said, the world is flat. You're competing against people all over the planet, but you also got to see the impact that work had on not only the individuals, but their families, the communities in which they went to work. So fast forward now, you've teased us with, so you've started the Global Mentorship Initiative, inspired by Rockefeller, informed by some work that Everest did. What is the Global Mentorship Initiative?
Yes, yeah, I want to tell you how it got started because that's an important part of the story. While doing the work with Rockefeller, we were working, this was back in 2017, we were working with job recruiters in South Africa. And this is where the light bulb went off for me. They told me that, contrary to popular belief, there are jobs available for many graduating students in Africa. But sometimes for students in underserved communities, there can be a soft skills gap in their readiness for these jobs. And when you think about it, it's because many of them haven't had the same opportunities as more privileged students. Mm-hmm. For example, just having a computer at home with internet access. Or one big advantage is having a parent that works in the corporate world. Right. And that sometimes leads to business connections or extra support in landing a job. So I'm not talking about the specific job skills, like being a financial analyst or software developer. We're talking about the soft skills that are needed to be successful in any workplace. So as a result, as we're creating some of these jobs, especially impact sourcing jobs, they weren't always going to the young people who we wanted most to benefit from them. And that was eye-opening. And so to help fill this gap, we created Global Mentorship Initiative. And so far, the results have been just incredible, even during the time of pandemic, how many companies and people are eager to share their experience with the student. So just a little about GMI. It's a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We target students who are underserved and in their final year of college, and we match them with a business professional to prepare them for their job search. That's specifically what we do. It's 14 one-hour structured online sessions. Ian, you know about this personally. And they usually meet once a week with their mentor. As far as the locations, we partner with universities around the world, and we have, I think when we last talked, we had 8 US locations. We now have 9, and we have 10 locations in Africa, plus Jamaica, Sri Lanka, and Lebanon. I'm probably leaving off a location or 2 here, but it's just been incredible how fast this has taken off.
That's the problem with explosive growth. It's hard to keep track of all the growth.
That's right.
Well, and amazing, as you said, and I'll plant this seed because I'll refer back to it. But I have the privilege of being a mentor, being a GMI mentor, and working with someone in South Africa. And I'll come back to it as we talk about the body of advice and the work that you've done to put collateral together for mentors. Because I'll be honest, I was a little nervous when I got started that, oh goodness, what am I supposed to do? Especially for 14 sessions, am I in trouble? What did I sign up for? But it's so beautifully designed. So we'll get to that in a moment. But as you said, it's exploded. It literally has taken off. You're in 9 different universities in the U.S. You're going global. So what do you attribute that to? What's the secret to your success, Jon?
Yeah, it's just been an incredible ride. It's taken off so quickly, and we're grateful. We have to give some credit to a lot of companies like Sykes who have sponsored this effort and specifically have encouraged their employees to become mentors. And that's what Sykes has done with us. And many other companies as well.
Right.
So when we started out, we wanted the program to be different, and we wanted to try to address a specific gap, not be all things to all people, but this specific gap about employing youth around the world. And as I said earlier, just having the jobs available doesn't mean it's going to impact the students who need it the most. Right. And so that's what we're trying to do. So we purposely created a simple mission with 2 objectives, and we're only actually tackling one of those objectives right now. We're just about on to start number 2. But one is to prepare underserved youth for job opportunities. And we're trying to do that at a massive scale in the next few years. And 2, the second part of this is to build a partner network of companies that will provide some of these job opportunities for students in the GMI program. We see a huge potential for this kind of dual-pronged approach to make a real difference and to help people that want to make it easy for people that want to employ impact workers.
Right. Perfect. So give us a sense of where these universities are, how you select the programs, and then, as you said, it's a huge opportunity. I guess question 2 is do you have a sense of the scale of that opportunity? I mean, obviously there are a lot of jobs out there and available. There are certainly a lot of students. That was some of the rationale behind the Digital Jobs Africa efforts that Rockefeller invested in, was they just realized how many youth there were going to be to enable with skills and to provide jobs to. So I'll back up. So give us a sense of the schools that you're working with so far.
Yes. Well, in the United States, we work with schools such as, our very first U.S. school was Delta State University in Mississippi. They've been a fantastic partner to us. We work with colleges in Appalachia, West Virginia, Michigan State University provides students. McDaniel, thinking about the demographics of our students, we're just about across the world 50% female, 50% male. In the United States, we have quite a diverse group of students, but probably about 45% of them right now are African American. And it's fantastic. We've just signed a partnership agreement earlier this year with the American Indian College Fund. And they are now providing us with groups of Native American students from colleges all across the United States. We just signed a program with a school with 85% Hispanic students, and we're just now beginning that onboarding path, and it's just wonderful. But the United States is 35% of our students. 65% of them are internationally. In places like the University of West Indies in Kingston, Jamaica. I had a chance to visit the college 2 or 3 times before the pandemic, actually doing some BPO work down there with Microsoft. And there's such an opportunity to basically help these students, these kids, differentiate themselves from the average job candidate. And that's what this is all about. I think we're going to talk about refugees, so I'll hold that question for a little bit later. But
sure.
Another example is we've started. Well, actually, I haven't even told you the scale. Right now, we have about 1,000 people in the program, and that's mostly within the last year. So about 500 students currently in the program, about 500 mentors. We're on track right now, though, for 2021 to end up with over 2,000 people. If nothing changed right now, we would still end up with over 2,000 new people in the program. And we're talking about an opportunity to scale this much larger, though, working with partners like Sykes, like other companies that want to make this part of their CSR strategy. And when you think about it, the opportunities are just endless.
Oh, massive. Let's go to a question that's come in, because I think it's based on some of the answers that you just provided, and maybe we can add some color to it. David Reichman, if we could put the question up on the screen, he asks, so we mentioned the schools that you work with. He asks, how do students go about finding these kinds of opportunities, perhaps within the schools that we're aligned with or in other schools? And are you connected to any organizations that help seek out underprivileged students, or do the students reach out to the organizations? I think some of that you touched on as far as aligning with different programs, but how do students find these opportunities?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So first of all, we work with mostly colleges. We do work with some organizations, like I mentioned, the American Indian College Fund. We're also working with another organization that focuses on disadvantaged students globally who are actually attending college in the U.S. But to get to the heart of your question, when we work with these colleges and organizations, we focus on disadvantaged students only. Now, every college student could benefit from this. I certainly could have. I missed out on all of this and was just lucky to get where I got. But now we're encouraging students to take control of their career paths. And so when we say disadvantaged students, that means something different in every country. And in the United States, that means first-generation college attendees from their families. It means students who require financial assistance just to be able to go to college. In places like South Africa, Kenya, that means something different entirely, what disadvantaged means. And so we sort that out with the schools. There's nowhere a student can just go to our website and apply to be a mentee. We ask that the colleges nominate students, and there's a process, because we want to make sure that, one, a student is considered disadvantaged, and two, that they have a commitment to the program, that they're really going to get the value out of the program. So we work with professors, with teachers. They nominate students. We just completed a a large orientation of students, in fact, yesterday from Senegal. We meet with those students, make sure they know what they're getting into and that they're committed to it. And so that's how we find students.
Tremendous. And congratulations on all the growth. I mean, that really is meteoric. You'd mentioned you work with the universities and prepare the students so they can get value out of the program. Give me a sense of what the mentees get from the program. What's the impact of being a mentee?
Yeah, well, the first way to answer that is this, we're helping them find their first job and giving them the tools and guidance to do that. But when you think of it on a larger sense, we're also helping them learn how to be more prepared in life and ultimately to take control of their career path. And I was one that my career path grew based on what reorganization my company had that year or that quarter. And now we are telling our students, work in the path that you want to work in. And control your destiny as much as you can. Something that was just completely foreign to me in the younger years. But another part of this is we're trying to build self-confidence with students, so they know that they have what it takes to succeed. And you know that for many students around the world, the lack of self-confidence holds them back from achieving what they can accomplish. But it's not just self-confidence blindly. It's also about increasing their self-awareness. It's about knowing what you're good at and about realizing what you need to improve on. And here's the key: working on those skills you need to improve on before you start your career, so you start off in a good foot. And so to answer your questions, well, I should say that's one of the reasons why we work with students in their final year of college, and that's because they're starting to get nervous about a job, their career path, especially in this time of pandemic, and they're most receptive. We try to work with them early in that first year, and here's how we do it. We start off with them working on creating their professional business network with a huge focus on LinkedIn. And then once you build that network, how you leverage it for job opportunities. So that's why we start with LinkedIn, because they'll use that 2 or 3 months down the road to find opportunities. So right now, LinkedIn is so important if you're looking for a job. And we teach advanced techniques, and they really work, not just for students, but anyone looking for a job at any level.
Yep. You said it yourself. I'll echo the same. I wish a program like this was available to me when I was in my final year of school. I remember fretting that I had just gone through a lot of school and didn't know anything and wasn't sure how I was going to get a job at all. Was surprised anyone hired me. I guess I'm still surprised people hired me. But those skills and as I was preparing myself to be a mentor in the Global Mentorship Initiative, and thought, I mean, goodness, how am I going to fill 14 discussions with anybody? And like I said, you've got incredibly well-structured material that guides the mentor along to provide their perspectives and help, but also really structured, valuable insight for the mentee. And I will admit, I was really excited that the first few discussions did so solidly focus on developing a robust professional network using LinkedIn, because I totally agree. I mean, this is live streaming over LinkedIn. I've built a big brand, not only personally, but for a startup I ran thanks to LinkedIn. And it's so astute and aware to focus on that as one of the many topics that you discuss. And also you mentioned soft skills and how to interview and how to put together resumes, some of the other things that you'd sort of expect to see in a program like this.
Right. So, I'll mention a couple of them. We get them started on LinkedIn because over the course of the mentorship, we want them to connect with as many people as they can in the companies they want to work at. But while they're doing that, we then go on to the other sessions on building a career plan. And when I was in college, I don't think I was mature enough to really know about what I wanted in a career path or a career plan. But we're exposing these students to this early and using business terms like establishing SMART goals and holding yourself accountable to them. And we tell our students, when you're in a job interview, you be sure to work in the fact that you've established SMART goals for your career plan. Because as we know, SMART goals are used in the business industry all the time for operational goals, budgeting. I couldn't get away from them at Microsoft. And so this is a way that students will differentiate themselves from their competition when they're in a job interview.
Right. I also think what's so impactful is you could read that, right? You could read about SMART goals and a framework to structure the way that you think you want to go about developing your career. But to hear it from somebody who is a mentor who has been there, and I imagine you say what you're sharing with us now, and I said it too, of, man, I sort of wish I had thought in such a structured manner about the way that I approach things. And I guarantee you this is more than just a framework. Here's why. I mean, it's almost cathartic. It's almost like self-therapy. Like, here's why this would be really useful for me. And hopefully that drives the point home to the mentee that this really is quite meaningful and quite applicable, because the individuals they're speaking to are further along in their professional career, and
Exactly.
and sort of voice how important and relevant those frameworks are for them.
Exactly. We as you've noticed in the mentorship program, we give the students templates for just about everything. We don't want to have them to reinvent the wheel. We know what works, and when even down to the point, if you have to leave a voicemail for a job recruiter, this is what you should say, and this is what you should not say. So why not do what works? And thinking about interviews, I'm not sure. I don't remember where you are in your mentorship with your student. Are you completed, or are you somewhere in the middle?
Closer to the end, but not done.
Okay. Okay. So in the interview section, we actually spend a couple of sessions on that because it's so important. And we teach them an interviewing technique, either the STAR method or the SOAR method. And it's a way that distinguishes them from other candidates. But the main part of the interviewing program is exposing them to a lot of the questions they're going to be asked, so they've got answers that come to mind, and that they're more relaxed in an interview setting. The idea is in an interview is you want to be able to let your true self come out, and not your nervous self. And so when you're prepared, then you have more self-confidence, and then you're more likely to succeed. So Ian, you're probably in the part of the mentorship now where we're talking about the best practices for when you actually get on the job, some tips and tricks and things. And so we spend time with students to be it's not enough just to get the job. We want them to get off on the right foot. And we have several sessions on that. And one towards the end is one I learned personally the hard way is the characteristics of employees who distinguish themselves from the rest of us. What it is that they're doing that we're not, that they always get selected for those promotions and those big job opportunities. And I really wanted this session to be in there because it's all the things that I never learned in my early career days, and until it was too late.
You've put this program together for a young Jon.
Yes, exactly.
But I think that, again, that's why I find it so valuable. Let's get back to a topic you'd referred to earlier, because mentally I can put myself in the shoes of some of these students, a little nervous in their final year of school, don't know how to get a job, and you're building up their core skill set, and then they just go get a job at a big company or a local corporation. But you talked about also working with refugees. And I imagine there are a lot of elements to a refugee's sort of situation and the challenges that they face that are unique and aren't as common or aren't the same as just a regular student looking for a job. Can you expand more on the refugee work that you do and what might make that different?
Yeah, I love to share this part of GMI. we're so fortunate to be able to serve in this area, and it's just been incredible. We have a partnership with Southern New Hampshire University, and we provide mentorship to students who are refugees, actually living in 8 refugee camps in Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, and in Lebanon as well. And they are displaced people from war-torn countries. When I think of our examples in Lebanon, those students are coming from Syria. They're coming from Palestine regions, and in Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, they're coming from just very difficult places. And it's something that doesn't get much news anymore. But there are millions of people who've had to flee their homeland just to be safe. And one of our students in a camp in Rwanda lost both of his parents to violence in the Congo, and he and his 2 younger siblings ended up in a refugee camp in Rwanda, and they've been there for several years, trying to make an opportunity to start a life. And so one of the refugee camps we work in, we work with 8 right now through Southern New Hampshire. I can't say enough about Southern New Hampshire University and their GYM program. They've just been we've just had such a great partnership. We'll actually have, we expect to have about 500 refugee students in the mentorship program by the end of this year.
That's sure.
And just opportunities for everybody out there that wants to give back in a special way. So one of the camps, though, is we're in is the world's largest. It's called Kakuma, and it's in Kenya, and that's spelled Kakuma. And I mention it because I encourage our listeners to look it up later, and they can see pictures of the environment where our students are working and trying to create a future. But it's 180,000 people that live there. It's about 450 miles away from Nairobi, and they're like, well, I started to say little cities, but they're actually big cities. And these students, they all attend school online for an accredited degree from Southern New Hampshire. And this education is just going to hopefully make all the difference in the world for their families and for their future outcomes. When you talk about trying to get a job living in a refugee camp, obviously that's a super tough job market, but yeah, there are opportunities, and many of these students can get jobs in the towns that are around the camps. Many have working privileges to do that, and even in the camps. And so this is what we're doing is not academic with them. This is giving them an opportunity to go out and get a job. And this is where these mentorships are much bigger than just educating students. This is a real opportunity to make a huge impact.
Right, a huge impact on them. And I imagine they're, as you say, people who are listening will check it out. We'll provide the links. We'll cover this a little bit later on.
I got to say this as a couple of examples. Just in the past 3 weeks, I've received 3 emails from students, 1 in Kenya, 2 in Rwanda, where they're so excited because they're halfway into the mentorship. They're getting job opportunities. In fact, one of the students who is a refugee who's living in a hosted family in South Africa, actually one of the larger Fortune 100 companies reached out to that person and asked about them being an intern. And we hope we had some impact by helping them with their LinkedIn profiles for that.
I'm sure you did, and there has got to be a special sort of tenacity to just survive in tough environments of any sort, especially in the ones that you've just described, and to give them hope, to give them opportunity, and to give individuals who sign up to be mentors a sense that they can make a difference, and they can contribute in some small way, just given the access to the resources they have, which in this case is the internet, their own career experiences, and a willingness to help. It's so powerful.
When you think of it, Ian, you've got an opportunity to make a huge difference for a person and their family just by sitting in your living room with your webcam.
Right. No, I agree, and I've experienced it. let's talk about opportunities. That you mentioned it's a tough job market in refugee camps. It's a tough job market everywhere at the moment. And so, what tips do you generally provide to the mentees, whether they be at the University of Virginia or in a refugee camp, to prepare themselves to help them to search for the opportunities that are most readily available to them?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we can all benefit from if we're looking for a job. And in this, what we focus on is how to distinguish yourself from the rest of the crowd. And so these are tactics that lead to job interviews. So I'm just going to share a few tips, knowing that you were going to ask me that question about what we share with our students. So one is, as we start our students off, build a strong LinkedIn profile, because 94% of job recruiters will either find candidates on LinkedIn or they're going to review your profile before making a hire decision. It really is that first impression. Mm-hmm. And I hear people, our students, telling us every week saying, as soon as they applied their techniques to LinkedIn, recruiters are actually starting to contact them. In fact, one of the common things that we have to try is to talk some of our students who have just graduated. We have to talk them out of leaving the mentorship because they just got a job, because we think even if they got their first job, they need to know these things regardless. So that's an interesting conversation. It's a great one to have with the student. The other thing is, there are companies that have jobs available that aren't on your radar today. So we tell the students to make it easy for these companies to find you. So one is connect with as many people as possible in the companies you want to work for. Mm-hmm. And the reason you do this, there's two reasons. One is because recruiters see this very positively. It's called, for all of our recruiters in the audience listening, it's called being engaged with their talent brand. And you can look that up and see why that's so important. But it shows that you're connected to that company. Another reason a lot of people don't know is some of the people you'll connect with, even if you don't yet know them, many companies actually pay their employees to refer job candidates. So you might actually be doing them a favor, because they might actually be able to refer you internally, bypass the crowd and get right to the hiring manager.
That's a great point.
We tell our students, always use a personal message when connecting on LinkedIn, because it improves the acceptance rate. And I want to touch on a couple of things related to resumes. This is so important. I've had people, say, I've sent in my resume to 10 different companies, never heard back from any of them. And then when we look at their resumes, we see that they don't have the right keywords for the jobs that they're applying for. And we spend a little bit of time with our students on keywords. As you know, Ian, human eyes don't read resumes anymore. Most companies use an applicant tracking system, and they scan resumes to look for keywords specific to that job description that they posted. Right. And it's only if you've got a good match that you're actually going to get input of a real person. So we teach students how to find keywords in a job description, and then have a separate resume for each job they're applying for. It's a little more work, but it's all about the payoff. That's the important thing.
Right. Well, it's a little more work, but 10 that aren't responded to is not a good use of your time either. No, and I think you're right. I think the power of connecting, the power of just being, and first of all, people are very open to connecting these days. We're on LinkedIn, we're sort of a very social bunch, and then by doing so and by following the companies, you're provided just an intense wealth of perspective and knowledge about what's important to those companies and to those individuals. So you can start to sort of walk the talk and relate to them when they're speaking to you. And then you've done your research, and you increase your likelihood of being an attractive candidate that matches what they have in their mind as their next hire. So right. That's so important. Jon, the last few minutes, I want to cover two different things. One, do want to discuss how both individuals themselves can get involved and how enterprises can. Before that, though, you'd mentioned at the beginning corporate social responsibility, sustainability, a huge amount of effort behind the UN sustainability goals, the Rockefeller Foundation, impact sourcing. This is clearly a major global trend. And I have to imagine it's major because people sincerely care about it. And as you'd mentioned, a lot of companies now, in some cases, have targets they need to meet in how they procure and the impact that they have in the communities, both their teams are from and in, and the communities from which they're sourcing talent from their third-party service providers. What's next? Do you think every organization is going to, I mean, I guess I'll answer some of the question. I know that some of the larger investment firms do care quite a bit about this, and they're putting some sort of expectations on enterprises they may be owning shares in. And as you said, what's so powerful is make your money do some of the talking, where you can dictate what's important to you as an enterprise from your partners, from your service providers. Is it moving fast enough? What do enterprises need to do to get it moving more quickly?
No, it's not moving fast enough. That's the problem. And I don't know if it'll ever be to my satisfaction. But I've had the opportunity for the last 4 years to chair the Impact Sourcing Awards for IAOP, and we this last December, we had 44 different applications. And so I've had a chance to see what's going on generally in the industry and impact sourcing. And if I had to sum up, I would say the industry is not yet organized enough to have a consistent message for the buyers, so that buyers can really understand the value of asking for impact sourcing. Okay. And I would love to see our industry come together with some common terms, some common results, and to show the value of impact sourcing in their specific companies. And it's not always the same output. In the United States, where I know of a company that has hired workers who were homeless, actually gave them an address, gave them a BPO company. And you can imagine the loyalty of those workers who, when you give somebody an opportunity like that, they're going to give their very best. Right. And when we look at places, in South Africa and different parts of Africa, how the BPO industry is starting to really take off. It's been slower than we hoped for, but I think if we could agree on a common framework for the value, I think then that's going to convince buyers that this is really something they should focus on.
No, I like that. It's somewhat capitalistic. It's pragmatic, and so it's more than just you're doing it because it feels good or it's right, but you're doing it because it just makes good business sense. As you said, you've got good talent that sticks with the organization, learns with the organization, is able to grow in it, and that's just more efficient for everybody. And so an important initiative. Okay, so in our last few minutes then, I hope we've had a great turnout, by the way, and thank you everyone who's joined us on this, and we'll also be hosting it on our website, and the podcast audio is available on virtually every podcast channel, so more and more people will hear this message, Jon. If you're an individual, how do you get involved?
Yeah, no, Ian, we'd love to have your listeners be a mentor to a less privileged student. Right now, we have mentors, so we have students in the United States and around the world that are ready to leverage the experience that each of you have. As I mentioned, we'll have well over 1,000 new students this year and 1,000 new mentors. But we need mentors for those 1,000 students coming in. They're coming in groups now. We just had orientation for 50 yesterday. That's good.
Is it a 1-to-1 ratio? Do you have one mentor per student, or how does that work?
It's a 1-to-1 personal mentorship. It's done remotely through a video conference, just like we're doing now. We make it as easy as possible for mentors to actually be a good mentor. We don't try to teach the mentors all of this program material. What we do is we focus on helping them be a great mentor to their student. Just use the material. The material is complete. It's summarized. You don't have to read 100 pages. It's 3 or 4 pages a session. And Ian, next year, we're looking at potentially 5,000 new students in the program. So not only do we want your listeners, we want them to tell somebody else about the program.
Everyone else. It's no, and I can vouch for it. The material is great. I've used it. It's I wish I had it when I was at that stage. And you need a lot of folks to get engaged and getting involved.
Yeah.
We'll put the link in. We showed the website. We'll make it very easy for people to find it. And then second question is you'd mentioned, Sykes is one of many enterprises that's supporting you. So I know that you're working with businesses. How do businesses get involved?
Yes. But before I address that, I just want to put in the website that you can actually go and learn more about the program and apply right at globalmentorship.org. Globalmentorship.org. Well, there it is, right on the screen. Okay, and I'm glad for anybody that wants to contact me directly in LinkedIn. More than glad for that. So thank you, Ian, for asking about how businesses can be involved, because there's a few ways. Very quickly, one is, most importantly, we want mentors. We want groups of mentors, just like Sykes has provided groups of mentors for the program. Other companies is doing that as well. And we appreciate that, absolutely. And secondly, I mentioned the phase 2 that we're starting now is we want your company, if you're interested in providing job opportunities for some of these students, either in the United States or around the world, if you want to hire an impact worker and make a real difference for them, we want to talk to you about introducing some of our students to you. And then thirdly, I mentioned we're a nonprofit 501c3. Any type of sponsorship opportunity to be part of this vision and to be part of these 5,000 students in the next year that's going to be part of this, we want to include anybody that can help in that way. So thank you, Ian.
Beautiful. No, there you have it, everyone. So obviously sustainability is important. It means a lot to so many of us. Corporate social responsibility is the way that enterprises can play some role in not only their own communities, but in the global communities that they often draw on for talent. Socially responsible outsourcing is one sort of branch of that, where as you're drawing on third-party teams, you work with organizations that are consciously making decisions to make a difference in communities. And then the beautiful intersection is, Jon, you with Global Mentorship Initiative are creating those opportunities and those savvy and business-ready, talented young individuals who then can step into these roles in communities, out of refugee camps, to really make a difference and effectively define the future of work, define that entering class. Because as you've covered, whether you choose, and actually it was at the bottom of the page that you have on your website, the UN sustainability goals, whether you're focused on goal 5, which is gender equality, or 4 around quality of education, or 8, which is just providing decent work for people, mentorship, opportunity, and the decisions you make through your outsourcing relationships and the choices you make in enterprises are so incredibly valuable these days. Absolutely. So Jon, thank you for really being a visionary, spearheading not only corporate discussion, but really rolling up your sleeves and doing something about this by founding the Global Mentorship Initiative.
Oh, Ian, I'm just delighted that you asked me to be on the program today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it's your work inspires me. The chance that I got to help one person, I need to sign up for more, has inspired me, and I'm certain you've inspired our listeners today. So again, everybody go check out those links. We'll post them after the fact to get involved, make a difference, get in touch with Jon. And thank you, everyone, once again for tuning in to OneTAKE. Hope everyone's healthy and well. And thank you, Jon, for joining us.
Thank you.